Once upon a time, in the heart of Africa's sprawling savannah, there lived a mighty lion named Olamide. Olamide was not just any lion, but the king of all the animals. His roar echoed through the vast plains, from the highest hills to the deepest valleys, striking fear into the hearts of all who heard it. His golden mane gleamed in the sunlight, and his powerful strides made the earth tremble. Olamide was the undisputed ruler of the animal kingdom, and all the creatures, from the smallest ant to the largest elephant, bowed before his authority. Olamide's reign, though marked by respect and fear, was not without its troubles. As king, Olamide was burdened by a deep, insatiable hunger, one that food alone could not satisfy. Despite the endless offerings of his subjects, who scrambled daily to bring him their finest fruits, meats, and delicacies, Olamide always found himself wanting more. His hunger was not of the stomach, but of power and domination. He desired to be not just respected, but feared, to assert his dominance over the entire savannah in ways that no other creature could. The other animals knew of the king's hunger and trembled in fear, for they understood that no matter how hard they tried, they could never truly satisfy him. Nevertheless, they continued to offer their best in hopes of delaying the inevitable, the day Olamide's hunger would turn on them. This fear hung like a shadow over the savannah, and life under the Lion King's rule became a delicate balance of submission and survival. Among the animals, there was one who did not live in constant fear of the lion, an unassuming tortoise named Mbeki. While the other animals raced to appease the lion with grand offerings, Mbeki watched from the sidelines, his quiet eyes observing the world with a calm and knowing gaze. Though Mbeki appeared simple, he possessed a mind sharp as the savannah wind. His movements may have been slow, but his thoughts were swift, darting from one idea to the next, like a gazelle fleeing a predator. Mbeki understood something the others did not. Olamide's hunger was not just for food, but for validation, for a constant reminder of his greatness. Mbeki, through his patient observations, had noticed that no matter how much Olamide devoured, his true hunger remained unsatisfied. As the lion's appetite grew more insistent, Olamide summoned the animals one day to make a grand demand. He decreed that each creature in the savannah must bring him a feast worthy of his greatness. The penalty for failing to satisfy him would be dire. Those who disappointed him would become his next meal. The animals, already fearful of Olamide's wrath, rushed into action, searching high and low for the finest foods in the land. Elephants gathered their sweetest bananas, antelopes harvested the greenest grasses, and monkeys scaled the tallest trees to collect the juiciest berries. Each animal hoped their offering would be enough to placate the lion, to stave off his fury for one more day. Meanwhile, Mbeki, true to his nature, did not rush. He moved at his usual slow pace, wandering the savannah with a thoughtful expression. He knew that no matter how grand the animals' offerings were, they could never truly satisfy the lion's deeper hunger. Mbeki's keen mind worked through the problem, and soon an idea began to take shape, a solution not rooted in food, but in wisdom. While the other animals scrambled to gather physical sustenance, Mbeki quietly prepared something else. He understood that what Olamide needed was not another feast, but a reflection of his own power, something that would remind the lion of his inherent greatness and calm the insatiable craving for more. On the appointed day, the animals gathered before King Olamide, their hearts pounding with fear and anticipation. One by one, they presented their offerings. The lion consumed each with great gusto, devouring fruits, meats, and plants in massive quantities. Yet with each bite, his eyes grew darker, his hunger more palpable. The feast did little to quell the deep, gnawing emptiness inside him. The animals watched in horror as the lion's dissatisfaction grew, knowing that their lives were hanging in the balance. When it was Mbeki's turn, the other animals looked at him with pity, for they saw that the tortoise carried only a simple wooden bowl. Inside the bowl was nothing but water, clear and still. The other animals shook their heads, certain that Mbeki had sealed his fate. What could water possibly do to satisfy the king's monstrous appetite? Yet Mbeki remained calm. He had no fear in his heart, for he trusted in the power of his wisdom. The tortoise approached the mighty lion with his small offering, and in that moment something remarkable happened. As Olamide gazed into the bowl of water, he saw his own reflection staring back at him, his golden mane, his powerful muscles, his fierce, commanding eyes. In that reflection, Olamide saw the embodiment of everything he desired: strength, power, and dominance. For a moment, the lion was mesmerized by his own image. The hunger that had gnawed at him for so long began to fade, replaced by a swelling sense of pride. The reflection in the water reminded him of who he was: a ruler, a leader, the greatest of all creatures. In that instant, Olamide realized that his need to consume more and more was driven by a deeper insecurity, a fear that he was not truly the king he claimed to be. But here, in the stillness of the water, was proof that he already possessed everything he sought. The other animals watched in silence as the lion's eyes softened. Olamide did not roar in anger or leap upon Mbeki in fury. Instead, he remained quiet, contemplating the image of himself reflected in the water. For the first time in many moons, the lion felt at peace. His hunger subsided, not because his belly was full, but because his spirit had been soothed. From that day forward, Olamide no longer demanded grand feasts from his subjects. He ruled with a newfound wisdom, understanding that his true power came not from what he could consume, but from who he already was. The animals, once terrified of his wrath, now lived in harmony under his leadership, grateful to Mbeki for showing the lion the truth. As for Mbeki, the clever tortoise returned to his quiet life, content in the knowledge that wisdom and patience had prevailed over brute strength. He continued to wander the savannah, moving slowly but thinking quickly, always watching and learning from the world around him. The tale of the lion and the clever tortoise carries a deep moral lesson. It teaches us that true strength and power come from within, and that wisdom can often triumph over brute force. Olamide's insatiable hunger was a manifestation of his need for validation and recognition, but it was only through self-reflection and understanding that he was able to find peace. This story also reminds us that no matter how small or insignificant we may seem, we all possess the ability to make a difference. Mbeki, the slow and humble tortoise, was able to change the course of the entire animal kingdom through his cleverness and insight. His actions demonstrate that even the weakest and most unassuming among us can possess the greatest wisdom, and that sometimes the quietest voice can have the most profound impact.